Yes, so hello and welcome to this pre-recorded class, only for classes 1-1 and 1-2. I'm sorry that our lesson had to be online this week instead of in person, but we'll do the best that we can. I will try to give you the content that I would have in class um, as best as possible and in the most entertaining way possible through this video, and then hopefully we'll have time next class to talk about a few of the things um, that will come up as far as, what is your favorite holiday? And maybe what are some of the similarities between different Korean holidays and the one that I'm about to talk to you today about. But in any case, this is a lesson on Thanksgiving, which I'm sure you've learned about. So I won't go into too much detail about what it is, um, but instead talk about maybe more of the things that people in America do to celebrate it. So let's go. So what is Thanksgiving? Well, it originated as a harvest festival. So, similar to, or most similar to Chuseok in general. Um, it also signals the beginning of the fall and winter holiday season in the United States. So it usually begins in late November with Thanksgiving. It will go all the way through December with Christmas, and then ending, of course, on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So it's kind of a long block of holidays that are celebrated in the United States. But that can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing. So it's a good thing because, of course, everyone loves holidays. Everyone loves celebrating. Everyone loves all of the fun, entertainment, and food and excitement that comes from holidays. But at the same time, a lot of people get frustrated, towards the end of it because it means having to sacrifice maybe your own personal time. You have to spend a lot of time with friends and a lot of time with family, and it means you don't get a lot of personal time necessarily. Um, it can also be very stressful for people that are worried about their body image. So with a lot of overconsumption of just foods in general, but also sweets, holidays where food is the main focus. And of course, for adults, many are also going out to parties and drinking as well. Um, in combination with the cold weather, it normally means that people will gain a certain amount of weight. And so that can be a stressful time. So while the fall, winter, holiday season, or if you want to call it Thanksgiving and Christmas, or Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, it can be a very good time for a lot of people, but it can also lead to some what I'll call overindulgence. So people will eat too much, will drink too much, will party too much, and then of course you get to New Year's Day and the beginning of the new year, and a lot of times they'll want to start new and do what they call a New Year's resolution, which we'll talk about later. But in any case, Thanksgiving is just the beginning. So we know what is Thanksgiving, but now we need to talk about why. So why do we celebrate Thanksgiving? Specifically in the United States, it is a holiday that is designed to, by name itself, you're giving thanks, Thanksgiving. So you're expressing gratitude to nature, so you're celebrating a good harvest. But the expectation is also that you are thinking about why you are thankful. So why do you want to give thanks to maybe your friends or your family or other people? So giving gratitude, saying thank you. It's a time for reflection because you had the spring and the beginning of the year. You go through the summer, everyone's busy, and in the fall, metaphorically speaking, we're harvesting literally crops outside, but we're also harvesting all of those good things so that as we head into winter, things are not always as nice. It's cold. Everything looks dead. The trees are just sticks. And so it's nice to reflect on what was good. What do I want to say thank you for? And it's also a holiday for family. Many people will visit with family. Um, they'll take time out of their schedule to hang out with friends that they haven't seen in a while, perhaps, but mainly family. And so then, the question is, well, where is this celebrated? And it is celebrated all over the United States, um, everywhere. From the very far south in Florida and in Texas, all the way to the north, where it's almost touching Canada. Everyone will celebrate Thanksgiving at the same time in the United States. There are other countries that may celebrate a Thanksgiving, but it is a different holiday. It shares the same name. So, for instance, Canada has their own Thanksgiving, but it's in October, and it is celebrating a different event than the one in the United States, although the message is still the same, that they are giving thanks. It is a holiday for the harvest, but it is a different day. So if you see Thanksgiving in other countries, different holiday. So the next question, or the next thing to talk about then is, well, when is Thanksgiving? And so Thanksgiving is always, and I mean that always the fourth Thursday in November. So fourth, of course, we have first, second, third, and fourth. So 4 weeks in, but it has to be the fourth Thursday, right? So that means that the actual date of Thanksgiving will change every year depending on the calendar, but it's always the fourth Thursday in November. And so because of this, this can mean it can be kind of difficult for schools, so for teachers and for students, but also for businesses, because it is the middle of the week. It's not a weekend, right? It's not like, oh, it's the fourth Saturday, so everyone has off. It's a Thursday. It's in the middle of the week. So many schools in recent years have decided to close for the entire week. So they will close from Monday all the way until Friday and give their students off all the time. Others are just closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And this gives students and their families, and also the teachers and their families, time for travel. So if you're going to go, to another city or to another state to visit your family, you need time to actually get there. Even if you were able to get on an airplane, as soon as you got out of school on Tuesday night, it's still going to take several hours in the airport, and then the flight will take several hours, and then it's a few more hours once you land, and then you can finally get to where you're going. You don't just want to rush through and be like, oh, hi, haven't seen you in a while, eat some food and leave. So many days off, it could be an entire week. I know I had students that they would actually not come to school on the Friday before that week. And so they would have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then come back to school. So it can end up being a very long time out of school. But overall, it's at least the Thursday, sometimes Thursday and Friday, sometimes Wednesday and Thursday at the minimum for some people. And so the last thing we need to talk about is, of course, well, who is celebrating Thanksgiving? And so for the most part, people will usually gather with their family. Thanksgiving is a holiday where a lot of times people will get together with what we call extended family. So it's not just mom and dad or mother, mom, dad, or children, right? So we're talking about, that would be the nuclear family, right? The really close one, maybe your grandparents too. But for extended family, we're talking about your aunts and your uncles, right? So the brothers and sisters of your parents and their kids, right? And it can be a challenge, especially if your family is not from the same place, right? So even in Korea, which is relatively small compared to the United States as an entire country, it can be difficult if maybe your family, your father's side of the family is from Busan, but your mother's side of the family is from uh, Icheon. Uh, you might have to split up a holiday where you go visit one family on one holiday and the other family on a different holiday. And the same is true in the United States. So, as I said here, oftentimes people will make a compromise um, for Christmas. So, compromise, of course, meaning, they'll agree to split things up. So maybe you go to your father's side of the family for Christmas, but you go to your mother's family for Thanksgiving. Um, and then other times, especially if your parents are the only ones that have children, sometimes your parents will now become the center of the family and everyone will come to visit you instead. So again, a lot of times the who is going to include a lot of extended family, not just, your nuclear family, not just your parents and your brothers and sisters. And there's also, a new and I would argue probably a very important kind of movement right now in the United States for something called Friendsgiving, right? And in Friendsgiving, you're now inviting people that aren't necessarily part of your family, um, but people that are still very close friends to join you and your family, or maybe just join you, period, uh, for Thanksgiving. Um, and that can be a good thing for a lot of people. If you don't have a large family, or if perhaps your family is no longer with us, if your mom and dad have both passed away and you don't have any extended family, Thanksgiving could suddenly feel like a very lonely holiday. Um, and so, inviting friends to join in, making them feel like they're part of a family or like a part of a group of people that want to have things shared with them can make them feel very happy, um, and can definitely add to this idea of, again, we're giving thanks for all of the good things in our lives. So that can mean friends, it can mean family, it can mean, I'm so glad I have a job that pays well and I can have nice things. I'm so glad that, I haven't gotten sick this year. Um, all of those things, it goes along with not only the idea of family, but also of friends, that you can get together with people and share those good feelings, right? And so, the most important part of Thanksgiving in general is the Thanksgiving meal, right? So we would call it a feast, right? Because we're not just going to eat food, we are going to eat all of the food in the biggest meal ever, right? So Thanksgiving is known for food. And so usually, unless you have a very strange Thanksgiving, there will be a large protein or a large meat that is being served. Always. Like that is the center of the meal. We are having meat of some kind. But there's also going to be many side dishes, right? So I would say that this is probably the closest that any American meal will come to seeing anything like the number of side dishes that are served at a large Korean meal. Most of the time in the United States, for normal dinner, you might have one or two side dishes at most. Thanksgiving is known for having many, many side dishes, right? And, sometimes good, sometimes bad. People definitely tend to overeat during the holidays, but especially on Thanksgiving. This is the holiday that people will eat too much, right? So don't wear your tight pants or your tight skirt. Don't even wear a belt. Just come wearing something comfortable because you are going to eat so much, you're going to feel like you're going to burst. And so, like I said, the center of any Thanksgiving meal is going to be the meat or the protein, right? And so turkey is the most common. Turkey obviously being a large bird, it's pretty difficult to cook overall. It takes many hours of cooking to finish it. And so people don't normally eat it all the time. So turkey is kind of a special thing to have at Thanksgiving. People don't normally have it more than once a year. And when they do, it's on Thanksgiving. Uh, some people don't like turkey, and so they may also have ham, which you can also see right here. But turkey is the most common. Ham is normally, a different holiday, but it can be eaten. So meat, definitely the focus of every Thanksgiving for the most part. I don't think I've ever been to a Thanksgiving where there wasn't some kind of meat in some way. I'm sure vegetarians would have, something to say about that, but usually meat is the center of the table. But like I said, there's also, a lot of side dishes. So beginning with some of the ones that I think are the most popular, you have things like sweet potatoes, which can be just roasted and served normal. As you can see right there, the sweet potatoes from the United States normally have a kind of a pinky brown skin. We don't have the really cool purple skinned sweet potatoes that you have. There's also something called yams, which is slightly similar. It's a different root, but it has a very similar flavor. Um, and a lot of times people will not just serve these as like a roasted kind of potato, but they'll also turn it into, a dish like you see here. Um, and if a sweet potato isn't sweet enough for you, uh, it seems to be very popular in the United States to put things like marshmallows on top of these sweet potatoes, as you can see here, um, to make sure that it's not just a sweet potato, but it is an extra sweet potato. Some of the other things we have here, we have cranberry sauce, which can either be um, like a jelly, so it's all one consistency, or it can be more like this one here, where it's got bits of actual cranberries together. But either way, it's a slightly sour, slightly sweet jelly, or maybe the better word is a relish that you can kind of have on the side with your meat, normally turkey. They'll also do things like green beans, but again, we can't just have green beans, right? Can't just have green vegetables. We have to make it, more indulgent or more rich, right? So people will make it into a casserole, right? So you take the green beans, you put them in the dish, you put in some kind of cream or some kind of, uh, sometimes people will use a cream soup as the base, and then these are fried onion pieces that they put on top to give it a little bit of crunch. So it'll be, kind of sweet, kind of savory, salty, crunchy, just kind of gooey. Um, and we also have mashed potatoes and gravy. And I hope you know what mashed potatoes are. But again, if you didn't already know, yes, Americans will have sweet potatoes and also regular potatoes in this case. So for mashed potatoes, you boil the potatoes until they're nice and soft, smash them all up until it's, all one consistency, maybe add a little bit of butter or milk, and then you also make what's called gravy to put on top as well. Because again, who doesn't need more salt and more flavor? And of course, there's even more side dishes, right? So we could just have regular corn, but why not have creamed corn? So in creamed corn, we take the corn kernels here, you add a little bit of milk or cream, a little bit of salt and pepper, and just kind of cook it down until it gets sweet. It's not quite as sweet as the corn cheese um, dish that Koreans eat, um, but it's similar, right? It is similar. It's not as sweet, but kind of similar. We'll also eat things like stuffing. So stuffing is where you take breadcrumbs or broken up pieces of bread. You toss in some other spices and herbs, and either bake it or the name stuffing. You quite literally um, put it inside of the turkey as it's cooking, and so it gets all those meat juices. It soaks it all up, and then you spoon that off to the side and eat it. We'll also eat carrots. These Brussels sprouts here, which are like little tiny golf ball size cabbages. Some people also had salad and maybe add some bread as well. Um, So again, you have meat, you have two kinds of potato, many different kinds of vegetables. If you had a bread and a stuffing, then you've got two kinds of bread. And the important question is, are you full yet? Right? Are you full yet? Could you eat any more? Well, I hope you can eat more because it's dessert time. And no Thanksgiving is complete without dessert. Right? You must have dessert. And like everything in Thanksgiving, it has to be, just the most either fattening or most sweet or most just over the top dessert, right? So most of the time, people are going to be serving some kind of pie, right? So we have pumpkin pie, which again, a pumpkin, kind of like what is it, a gourd. So normally spiced with cinnamon and a few other things. So it's got a sweet, but also kind of almost like a custard taste to it. You can also have pecan or walnut pie, which I know they have here in Korea. And you'll also see different fruit pies. So you'll see apple pies, you'll see cherry pies or strawberry pies, you'll see chocolate pies, and then something that we really only have, not just only in Florida, but really only in South Florida. If you ever look at a map of Florida itself, you have the entire state, which kind of comes down and goes all the way down, and then there's these few islands at the very, very south. And the furthest south of those islands, the furthest south or southernmost point in the United States is a place called Key West. And that is where they grow key limes. And so key limes are a kind of citrus. They're a very small lime, only, maybe this big. And because it's so small, you need so many of them to juice and get down to get any kind of fruit essence out of it. But they're known for being sweeter than a regular lime, and also have a little bit of a bitter taste. And so when you make it into this kind of sweet cream custard pie that has the key lime in it, it's both sour and kind of sweet at the same time. So I hope at some point you can try a key lime pie. They are easy to make once you have the ingredients, but of course the ingredients can be difficult to find if you're not in Florida and near the Keys. So we've had dinner or lunch. A lot of people will eat early in the day. But the idea is you've had meat, you've had potatoes, you've had vegetables, and now you've had dessert. Man, I don't know if there's room for any more. And so, another one of the major uh, things that sticks out about Thanksgiving is that as much as everyone probably tried, we can't possibly eat all of that in one meal, right? We just can't. There's just too much food at a Thanksgiving dinner. Everyone makes more food than what they can eat at the moment. And so that means that, if we can't eat it, then we have to save it. And that's where the idea of leftovers comes from, right? It's the leftover food. It's the food that is left over. And so, we don't eat it all in one meal, but we have leftovers. And so some people are going to be very simple with that, right? When they get hungry in a few hours, they're just going to heat up some of the food. So they'll have some turkey and some mashed potatoes and some corn, and you just kind of warm it up and eat it, and it's just like a small version of the meal you had before. But other times people get very creative, right? So we have all of those things, but what if we made it into a sandwich, right? So we take the bread, we put some turkey and some mashed potatoes and some gravy and some of the cranberry sauce and maybe, some vegetables, and all of a sudden we have an entire Thanksgiving dinner, but in a sandwich, right? So a lot of times people will try to be creative with that. So they'll make a sandwich that has all the flavors together, or they'll make a bowl, right? They'll have mashed potatoes on the bottom and they'll put different things on top, and it ends up being like an American Thanksgiving bibimbap, right? You've just got all the flavors together and you eat it. So it doesn't always just have to be eating the same meal over and over again until all the leftovers are gone for the next couple of days. Uh, so I can hear you asking now though. So all you do all day is eat food? The answer is no. For one thing, most of the time, again, you are with family and friends that you haven't seen in a long time. So there will be a lot of talking. There will be a lot of what we call catching up. So tell me how you've been for the last few months, or oh, tell me about your new job, or introduce me to your new boyfriend or husband, right? But there's other activities also. So American football is going to be on television. There will be several professional games, and there will also be several college games. So college teams playing each other that will be televised. College basketball is also going to be very popular. Thanksgiving is normally going to be a time that is the beginning of their season. And so many teams will be participating in different tournaments to start that season and hopefully, begin, their run towards winning a championship at the end. And then the last thing, one of the fun things, especially for kids to do in the morning, is the Macy's Day Parade, which is famous for having all of those inflatable balloons that kind of move with the floats as they go down the street. So, many kids will wake up in the morning, they'll want to watch the parade. And of course, the parade always ends with Santa Claus, indicating that not only, again, is this about Thanksgiving, but also it's the beginning of this holiday season and we're moving towards Christmas and New Year's at the very, very end of the season. And so, like I mentioned, this entire holiday is supposed to be about giving thanks, right? Thanksgiving. So I hope at this point that in your mind, you're imagining this wonderful holiday where families and friends gather and they share food and they give thanks and everyone is so happy. But like almost everything in the world, the United States has to ruin it, right? So the day after giving thanks for having family and friends and food, we have this thing called Black Friday, right? And so that's now grown into Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and then also Cyber Monday. Um, and what Black Friday is when companies will advertise um, the most extreme sales that they will have all year long, right? So companies like Target, for instance, here, or Walmart, will advertise selling television sets that are normally $800, right? They'll advertise them for $200. Or maybe they'll say, oh, if you are one of the first 5 customers in the store, you can get that television for $1. And so you'll get these people that are just lined up out here. You can see this line goes along the building here. These people are here on Thanksgiving night. This is still Thursday night, right? So maybe they ate dinner, maybe they just went and lined up and their family brought them food, but they're waiting in line to buy things, which is kind of the opposite of what Thanksgiving is supposed to actually be about. Um, and so, Black Friday, it grew and grew and grew in popularity. And thankfully, in recent years, people have kind of fought back because it did. It got to the point where people were here waiting at the Target on Thursday or maybe even Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and people are saying, "Stop! That's too much." And so that's where this idea of Small Business Saturday came from, right? People can still celebrate Thanksgiving. Don't go to the big stores. Don't support the big conglomerates on Friday. Stay home with your friends and family. But on Saturday, visit your local stores, right? Visit the local businesses that, really are the people that are closest, the guy that owns the clothing store next door to your apartment, maybe. And then Cyber Monday is another one of those, right? So you don't have to go out on Friday or even Saturday to get some of these deals because now some companies will have deals online on Monday. So there is a video here if you want to click it. It will show you just how, I guess, entertaining or awful, depending on how you look at it. Black Friday is in the United States, but I won't sit here and talk about it as it plays. I'll let you click on it if you want to. And so the questions that I want to ask you, and so I want you to think about for next time when we meet, because I will want to ask you about a couple of these things. So have an answer kind of prepared. The first question is this similar to any Korean holidays? And so I think you all know which one it is similar to. But specifically, I want to know what is similar and what is different about Thanksgiving and the holiday or holidays that you're thinking of. You know, what is the same and what is different? I also want to know, I talked a lot about the different kinds of food that are typically served at an American Thanksgiving. And so I want to know, out of all of those things, what is it that you are most excited to eat? Or what is it that you want to try the most? Also, I told you, sometimes you invite friends and not just family to your Thanksgiving, making it a Friendsgiving. But if I invited you to come celebrate Thanksgiving at my house and said, oh yeah, come on by, just bring a dish with you. What dish would you bring to Thanksgiving? And why would you bring that dish? Not just, oh, I'm going to bring, kimchi, but why is it that you want to bring kimchi? Or why is it that you want to bring seaweed soup, right? What dish would you bring and why? And then finally, the last question, it doesn't have to be Thanksgiving, obviously, but what holiday is your favorite and why is it your favorite? So thank you for sitting through this presentation. Hopefully it was better than just looking at the PPT all by yourself. I'm sorry that we had to do this class online, but we will definitely talk about Thanksgiving and some of these things when we go back into class. So when I see you in 2 weeks, because there's a mock test on Wednesday when we go back, so we won't have class. But we will talk about this more. So I hope you have a good week, and I will see you guys later. All right. Bye.